Now, what I first do is I go over to coinmarketcap.com and look at the current price action of the cryptocurrencies I'm interested in. Don't just buy into cryptocurrencies because they're moving in price, because those cryptocurrencies that are up 50, 100, 200%, they are going to have a harder correction. And you guys have to realize when you buy into FOMO at those cryptocurrencies up 100%, you're buying at the peak of the price movement. And with every peak of price movement, it's going to have a correction. And you don't want to be that person that loses out and loses money. So buy into cryptocurrencies at lower percentages. Now, I personally look at cryptocurrencies between anywhere up to 20% in gains as well as negative 30%. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would you look at the negatives? Well, looking at the negatives is actually very beneficial because the cryptocurrencies in the negatives are usually the cryptocurrencies that just had a price correction. So you can get into those cryptocurrencies before they begin a new price movement. So I usually look at anything up to 20% in gains and 30% in losses. So once you find a cryptocurrency you like and the price movement is in your preference, your range, now that is my personal price range, but you guys can choose your own, of course. Once you find that, I usually do a little research on the cryptocurrency. I see if there's any news coming out with it, if there's any publicity about it, if anyone's talking about it, and see if there's any potential for price movement in the future. So what I do is I go over to coinmarketcal.com. So for this video, we're going to type in Icon to see if there's anything going on with Icon soon. So they do have 2 announcements coming out. So this is showing us that there could potentially be movement towards the end of January for Icon. And we're also going to look at BNB, which is the Binance coin. And we can see that there is also news coming out for the Binance coin within this month, so we could determine that there will probably be price movement. Now, this isn't saying that there is going to be price movement, or if it's not already having price movement at the time, this is just a good place to reference to see any big announcements for those cryptocurrencies. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to your exchange or wherever you purchase your alternative coins, and you're going to look at the charts. Now, the charts are a great way to determine the price movement, but it's not the best way to determine the price movement. So right now we're currently looking at the Binance token on Binance.com, and we're on the advanced exchange right now, and we're looking at the Binance token. Now, when looking at the Binance exchange, I suggest looking at either the 1 day or the 4 hours. Now, why I chose these is because when you look at the 1 hour, the 2 hour, or even any of the minutes, the 30, the 1 minute, you're not getting a wide enough perspective of what's going on in the market. So again, I suggest using anything below the 4 hours, or 4 hours, 6 hour, 12 hour, or the 1 day. And then the 1 week, I think that's just a little too wide of a perspective. So I usually prefer to use the 1 day just so you get a good understanding of what's happening on the day for that cryptocurrency. As you guys can see, the Binance token is on a run-up right now, a great run-up at that. Now, this is an example of a cryptocurrency you wouldn't want to just jump into because it's already too much on the upside and you don't know where it could be going. It could have an even harder correction. So you need to be careful with cryptocurrencies that are already in a run-up because you don't know where it could be going. Other than just looking at the chart, I usually use a couple indicators. Now, indicators are a great way to help you determine if getting in a cryptocurrency is at a good price or if it's overbought, sold, all that kind of stuff. So the first indicator we're going to look at is the MACD. Now, what this indicator does is it tells you if a cryptocurrency is being traded at an undervalue or an overvalue, as well as determining if it could be going to a downside or an upside in a trend. So right here we have the histogram, and that's going to be these green bars as well as this red bar. So kind of imagine a imaginary invisible line in between those. So you have this yellow and this purple line. Now these 2 lines are tracking the rate of not the price movement, but the volume of the trading. So what this is determining if we could be moving to an upside or a downside in the trading patterns. So as you guys can see right here, the purple and yellow line flip over to the green side. So we were on the red side right here, and then they flip over to the green side. And right when they flip over, as you can see, the price soared upward. So this is a great way to determine if we're going to be moving to a downside or an upside. So I usually just quickly look at this to see if I'm getting in a cryptocurrency on the downside, because that's where you want to be getting in on, is on the downside of a trend, so you can get the best price possible. And the next indicator we're going to look at is going to be the RSI. Now, these two indicators are very simple to use, and I suggest using them because they can really help you get in cryptocurrencies at good values. The RSI helps you determine if a cryptocurrency is being undertraded or overtraded in its value ranking. So right now we're looking at the Binance token, and for the majority of this whole long trend, the Binance token was being traded within its traded value. So the traded value is 30 to 70, and it was being traded right in between there. But as you can see right here, if we go upward, the Binance token goes past the 70 mark, and that determines that the token is being traded. It's being traded more than what it's actually worth. More people are buying it than what it's actually worth at the time. So that's something you want to keep an eye out for. When you're jumping into a cryptocurrency to buy, you don't want to be jumping in when this line is above 70, because that means more people are buying at the rate that it's not actually worth at the time. You want to buy when it's either in between these two lines being traded at its actual value that it's worth, or below. Now, if you can buy when it's below 30, that could potentially be a great place to get in, because there's a lot of ways for upward movement. Another indicator that I like to use is the depth view. Now, this isn't necessarily an indicator. What this does is it shows you if more people are buying or selling a cryptocurrency at that desired moment. So as you guys can see, this is the green side is the buying wall for the Binance token right now. So you can clearly see that there's a lot lower amount of people trying to buy the Binance token. And then this is the sell wall, which is everyone trying to sell the Binance token. So what's nice about looking at something like this is it can help you determine if you're trying to buy into a cryptocurrency, if more people are buying or selling. So you would want to get in when you see the buying side starting to go up, or rather lower than the selling side. And if you want to sell, you would want to sell when the buying side is a lot higher than the selling side. So this is a great tool to use to see if more people are buying or selling at the given rate. So those are the two indicators that I use. Now, this is a cryptocurrency that is definitely on the upside of an upward trend. So I want to find a cryptocurrency a little on the downside, just so you guys can see a little bit of both sides. Now, most cryptocurrencies are moving up in price movement, so I don't know if we're going to find one. Let's see. We'll look at GVT, see if how this one's doing. All right, so this isn't the best example, but it'll help you show you guys what happens when it starts to go downward. So as you guys can see, we've had this huge run up in GVT, and then we're beginning to have a price correction. So as you can see with the price correction on the RSI, we had this upward trend where it was being overbought and being bought more than it was actually worth at the time. And then now it's beginning to go back down into the range where it's actually worth. So this would potentially, once it gets in between these indicators, these two, this section, it could be a good place to buy. And with the MACD, as you guys can see right here, this is where we had the crossover. So the lines went down with the red. We had this big red area, this big correction, and then we flipped over to the green, which is right here, and we began an upward trend, which went all the way upward, this upward trend, and now we're beginning to slope back down, and these two lines are gonna get closer and closer together, and they will begin to slope back down into the negative side of the MACD. So those are great ways to determine if you're jumping into a cryptocurrency at a good price. Now we're gonna look at ways to determine if you're selling at a good price. Now, everyone, of course, you want to buy low, sell high. So how do you sell high? Well, you need to realize that when these cryptocurrencies do have these huge run-ups, for example, if we look at Binance token again, we'll look at the Binance coin again. For the Binance token, right now we are on a huge run-up for the Binance token. A good way to determine if it's a good place to sell would be, obviously you want to sell in the green so you make the most profits, but you need to realize that you can't be greedy. Now, the human race tends to really like even numbers. Now, I know this sounds kind of simple to you guys, but it's true. Every time we hit even numbers with cryptocurrencies, you see a price correction. Now, this is simply just the human anatomy. So that's a good way to determine, a little tip to determine if it's a good time to get out is a little bit before a cryptocurrency hits that big even number. Another good way to determine is just not be greedy. Set yourself, when you buy into a cryptocurrency, if you're short-terming it, if you're day trading it, whatever it is, if you're long-terming it, it's a different story. But if you're buying into a cryptocurrency, set a price that you want to sell at and keep to that price. Do not deviate from your plan, because when you deviate from your plan, you are going to get burnt. So once you set a price that you want to sell at, for example, if I bought Binance token at $10 and I was planning on selling at $9.50, I would sell at $9.50. I would not say, oh, it's going to keep going up, because that's how you're going to lose money. Just stick to your plan. Do not deviate from your plan, and you will make the most profits you possibly can. Another way to determine with the indicators, right now we are greatly up on the upside for the MACD. So the MACD right now, the volume is being way over traded. So this is a great way to determine that we could potentially be having a pullback. Another way is to determine on the MACD is if these two lines are getting closer and closer together, they're going to begin to slope downwards. So right now they are still wide apart. So this isn't necessarily a bad sign, but we could begin to see a sloping downward within the next day or so. If we look at the RSI for selling on Binance token, you can see that we are up in above 70. Now, when we begin to go up in above 70 for the RSI, that's a good way to determine that alright, you need to sit back and realize that the cryptocurrency is being traded at an overvalued rate than it's actually worth. So we could begin to see it slope back downward in between those ranges of 30 and 70 where it's actually worth its value. So this is a great way to determine if it's a good time to get out, as well as if it's being traded at an overvalue. So again, just don't be greedy. Stick to the prices that you're going to sell out for you day traders and short termers. For long termers, of course, get yourself in at a good value that you think is a solid pricing, and just hold for the long term, because that's exactly what the word long term means, is holding for the future. So again, do not deviate from your plan. Stick to your plan. Set those price points, and you guys will get in those cryptocurrencies at the exact prices you want and get out at the exact prices you want and make tons of profits. I hope this video helped a lot of you guys. Please leave comments below with questions or your personal opinion. There's no bias on this channel, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace!